What's up guys, it's Lauren. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's Hair Transformations with Lauren. In this week's episode, I'm going to be showing you some color transformations that I did this past week, and I will be also showing a touch-up of a client that I have shown previously in a previous episode, so stay tuned for that. So this first client that I want to show you guys is Katrina, and Katrina has been coming to me for a while now, and today we're going to be re-lightening her roots and as well as her ends. Even though I always lighten Katrina to about a level 9, whenever she comes back in, her hair always looks darker, and this is really common for my girls who have thicker, darker, coarser hair. Even though I lift them really blonde and they leave the salon pretty blonde, they always come back a little bit darker, and that's totally normal. So for her, every now and then, we kind of have to like re-lighten her ends and just make it a little bit brighter, just because the purple shampoo and just as time goes on, her hair re-keratinizes and gets darker. So there you can see I lifted her to about a level 9 and 8 in some areas, and then I'm going to tone her with some Pulpriot liquid Demis. So for Katrina's formula, I toned her with 7.0 at the root, and then on her mids and ends, I toned her with 911-22 and some clear to create a brighter silvery color. This next transformation is on my lovely client, Lauryn. She comes to me every 3 weeks to get her roots touched up. She hates seeing her grays there, so she comes pretty often, and her formula, I like to use Pulpriot Faction 8. I do 5.0 just at the hairline, and then 5.0 and 4.0 with 20 ball the rest of her head, and process for 35 minutes. But in this case, we're going to be balayaging her, so I just put the color on her roots, and then started to balayage her. So there I'm taking my chunky weave, but then teasing it and buffering that with a teasing comb and painting this on with 20 ball. So the reason why I chose two different formulas for her root color is because Lauryn's hairline tends to pull really dark. So using a slightly lighter formula around her hairline, I'm able to create the same level throughout her whole head for her roots. And fun fact, Lauryn, before she came to me, had been going to different hairdressers, getting her roots done elsewhere, and she always said that whatever color any previous hairdresser used on her, she always had to take like a Benadryl because she always broke out. But she told me ever since she came to me and I've been using Pulpriot Faction 8 on her, she hasn't had any allergic reaction. It's been very gentle on her scalp, which is something that I hear from a lot of my clients who used to have irritations from other color lines. So that is another plus to using Pulpriot's Faction 8. And for her tone, I use 7.0 at the root, and then on the mids and ends I use 9.2, 9.03 in clear. And there you can see how shiny Pulpriot leaves the hair. And sorry, the lighting is a little bad. I finished her hair after the sun had set, so this is all we could get. So if you've been keeping up with all my videos, you can probably remember my client Lucy, who came in and she practically had years of regrowth. Her hair was pretty much all virgin, and then I transformed her into a gray. And so with that technique, I didn't touch her root. I just lightened her an inch away from her scalp, and then I melted it with Faction 8 at the bowl. And so she came back in for a touch-up, and this is what she looked like after, I would say, about 2 months. So this is what Lucy's hair looks like. Her roots are a little bit warm there. You can see from where the lightener kind of met her natural, but her mids and ends are very light. It kind of faded to a beigey, ashy blonde. And so today we're going to be re-lightening her roots and kind of blending that all out. If you're not sure about this color transformation, you can reference back to episode 3 of Hair Transformations with Lauren and see how that whole process went. So to retouch Lucy's root, I start in the back and do some chunky highlights on the very bottom, and then I start making them into smaller weaves as I get towards the tops, just so I can get rid of as much warmth and root as possible so she can feel as blonde as possible. And so the next appointment when she comes in, it makes it easy for me to see all of the dark that I need to pick up the next appointment. As I apply the lightener to each of her foils, I like to first fully saturate her root natural area and heavy saturate that area, and then just lightly saturate the warm pieces because I'm using just one formula. So I like to make sure that I do a heavy saturation where I need more lift, and then just lightly brush over the warm spots that need to be lifted just a little bit. And then once I get to Lucy's hairline right in the front, I like to do a baby light first just to blend any solid color, because after that I will be doing some slices to create a bolder money piece. But that baby light right at the hairline just softens and blends whatever solid slice that I put on after. And then after applying 2 slices, I did 2 baby lights after to blend those out as well. And then for Lucy's roots, once they were all done processing, I rinsed them out and I tried to lift her to at least like a level 9 and 10 so that we could do a nice silvery ashy color. So for Lucy's root shade, I mixed up the Pulpriot Rapid Toners. I used violet toner, silver toner, and then I added some Factionate and I used 7-1 and mixed those with 6-Vol 1-to-1 to create a deeper silvery ash tone. And then on her mids and ends, I mixed up silver toner with violet toner. And then once I was done applying, I let that sit on for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And then I was running a little late because Lucy had came in a bit late, so I didn't have time to fully style her, but I blow dried the front so that you guys could see the color, and she left a nice gunmetal gray. And there you can see at her root, she barely has any warmth left, but definitely when she comes in for her next highlight appointment, we will get rid of all of the warmth that was in her hair. This next client of mine was wanting to go as white as possible. Her hair texture is on the finer side, and she said that her previous hairdresser was never able to get her super light. And hey, I can't blame her. Like, I totally understand. I felt this girl's hair and was a little worried myself, so I told her that we were going to take it slow, and if we couldn't get her as white today, it was for the sake of keeping her hair healthy. So after I had highlighted her hair, I took her to the bowl, washed out all her highlights, and then started balayaging her hair wet to make it more gentle on her hair, and slowly lifted it to about a level 9 and 10. For this, I just mixed up lightener and 20-Vol, and I left this on for about maybe 25 minutes. And then this was the end result. I toned with the liquid Demis. I used a 9-1, 9-2, and a lot of clear for this tone. And in this shot, her hair looks pretty white. In person, it looked a little bit more golden. As you can see here, it looks slightly more golden. And I told her that it would just take another process to get her as white as the photos, but at least her hair felt good and healthy. It didn't feel dry at all, so it's always good to take things very slow when going as white as possible. So here's my client Stephanie, and Stephanie just had a baby this year, so congratulations to her. But she was wanting to chop all of her hair off and go slightly darker for something a little bit low maintenance because she doesn't have time to come into the salon that often, and she claimed that her baby was pulling on her hair, so we decided to give her a nice chop there. For her tone, I used Pulpriot's Liquid Demis, and I toned her with 6O and a little bit of clear. I really love that the Pulpriot Liquid Demi line, the natural series is more of a neutral, ashier brown in my opinion, which I love for all of my clients who want to be a nice ashy brown. So for my next client here, we were working on highlighting her roots and just re-lightening her ends just a tad. Her hair is on a hair journey to getting a little bit healthier and fuller on the ends, so I didn't want to push her hair too much, but I re-lightened her ends and then I toned her with the Liquid Demis. At her root, I did 6O and 7O, and then on her mids and ends, I used 9-2. Even though some pieces weren't lifted all the way to a level 9, it just kind of kept the brightness and didn't darken it too much. Alrighty, and that's a wrap for this week's episode of Hair Transformations with Lauryn. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next week in my next video.